Former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe has said that UFOs are not Russian and Chinese drones. This conflicts with the early reports, especially the New York Times article that just came out, which tried to debunk a lot of UFOs as Russian or Chinese drones. So let's get into this a little bit. This is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media. When I drop these videos on social media, it would be super helpful if you would share them. Also, please join the channel for exclusive perks, like exclusive videos. You can join Tier 1 or Tier 2. Tier 2 is the one with the exclusive videos, so check that out. You can also drop a tip in the tip jar below. Okay, let's get into this. This is an interview that John Ratcliffe gave. I want to say this is probably prior to the original U.A.P. report, but there's no timestamp on it. And I haven't been able to find the original source video. If you can find that, that'd be great. But it doesn't matter. What he has to say pertains to the new report as well. And that is simply that, I'll let him say it in his own words, and then I'll have a few thoughts about it. Here is John Ratcliffe on U.A.P.
It's not going to rule anything out or anything in, for that matter. I think what's important and what people can expect about this U.A.P. report is I think it'll talk about the number of sightings. They're far greater than have been publicly disclosed before. I think there's been some leaking that there may be as many as 100. I'm not going to dispute that number. But what's more important, Trey, is that the number of sightings and recordings that have been picked up by what we call multiple sensors, that is visual, radar, ISR, satellite. And when you have multiple sensors under conditions where we see UAPs, it explains away a lot of the things like visual disturbances or things like that. And so, I hope the report will address why we can't answer some of these explanations, because here's the bottom line. When it comes to national security, ego can't be involved. If there's something out there that's bigger or faster and stronger, we've really got to answer that question. And so having a discussion about it is going to be a good thing.
But are you more skeptical, less skeptical, or the same on UFOs and life on other planets than you were before you were the DNI?
Well, again, I don't look at it from a standpoint of life on other planets. I look from a standpoint of national security, and here's what troubles me right now, Trey, is a lot of people say, well, maybe it's Russia or China. But some of the things that have been publicly talked about, we know for a fact from the intelligence community, we have high confidence that things like transmedium properties and hypersonic speed, meaning vehicles that go at 5 times the speed of sound, or Mach 5, Russia and China clearly didn't have those in 2004 when some of these things were cited and recorded. And so we need to get explanations for them. And, again, if someone is bigger, faster, or stronger out there, we need to know about it. And so we need to have a discussion where our sailors, our airmen, and our soldiers can talk about it and report it so that we have that information so we can figure out what it is to protect America.
Boom, there you have it. UFOs and UAP cannot be explained by Chinese drones or Russian drones because they did not have that technology in 2004 with the Nimitz incident. And I would go much further back than that. They didn't have that technology at Roswell. They didn't have that technology throughout the many ages, that we have been observing unusual phenomena. Now, that's not to say there's not Russian or Chinese drones. Of course, there are. Our near peer adversaries are, trying to find out what we're doing and how to act against us, if at all possible. So, there are, accounts, for example, of U.S. sailors aboard ships that have, wrestled these Chinese drones aboard the ships. So, yeah, absolutely, there are enemy drones out there surveilling us. But that does not explain the anomalous incidents. And we are specifically looking at the anomalous incidents. The New York Times article wanted to highlight the mundane incidents, the incidents that could be explained, not the interesting incidents, the incidents that could not be explained. John Ratcliffe also points out that we have multiple sensor data on some of these incidents. We've got them on radar, we've got them on sonar, we've got visual confirmation, we've got infrared, we've got all these different sensors that are picking up on these things, even in the same incidents. So to dismiss the glowing green pyramids, they appear glowing in green on the video, but to dismiss those things as a glitch in the sensors, when there are actually multiple sensors and even eyewitnesses to these events, is ridiculous. It's even insulting. Seriously, how stupid do they think we are? But these guys are focused on downplaying the phenomenon, and they're hoping to erode the public's interest in it by doing so. We're not going to fall for that, though, guys. Good try. But they are going to keep trying to do this. They are going to keep trying to downplay the phenomenon and to ascribe it to mundane causes. And there are going to be people in the UFO community, or whatever you want to call it, such as Stephen Greenstreet, that are going to aid and abet this effort. I don't know what the motives are of the people in the government for doing this. I suspect there are multiple factions and multiple motives. Some people just don't want to go there. Some people are in the service of the whatever you want to call it, the interior government, the Area 51 group, the control group, the breakaway group, whatever it is. And they are, reverse engineering technology, and they've been suppressing this issue for a long time, very, very likely working with the beings or some subset of the beings themselves. And it's even possible that their motives are good and that they're doing good work that needs to be done. I don't even discount that possibility. They could be keeping secret for very good reasons and doing what they're doing for very noble reasons. But the fact is that they are not telling us what those reasons are and what they are doing. So it's impossible for us to make that judgment. However, there are other people that seem to they don't want to go there. They don't want to answer these questions because they can't answer them, or else they have religious motivations and it makes them uncomfortable. And, as Lou Elizondo says, he had people that would ascribe this to demonic forces and, said they should just leave it alone. And, that's interesting when you wonder what information they were looking at. Were they looking at some of the negative poltergeist activity and Skinwalker activity at Skinwalker Ranch and the illnesses that strike people there, and basically the negative activity that those programs were witnessing at the ranch, and that's where they made that judgment that it was demonic? I don't know. But Skinwalker Ranch is an isolated example where there is a lot of negative activity. It's not all negative, but it is largely negative at that particular location. However, the phenomenon is vast and deep, and it is mostly overwhelmingly positive. So to make a snap judgment about it being demonic is looking at they must have been looking at a very small sample of information. But yeah, so there's the group that just doesn't want to go there, that may think it's demonic, or they just don't have answers for it. And there's the other group that's in the employ of the control group, and there may even be multiple factions there. One thinks of the military abductions, the MILABs, versus the regular abductions by the beings, sometimes working in concert with the government. So those are two government groups that may have competing interests. So those are some of the various motives that people in the government might have. And then there's people like Stephen Greenstreet, who I think started to peer into the abyss and saw the abyss was staring back at him and said, "Screw this, guys, I'm going home." That's my take on Stephen Greer. He started to look into the phenomenon with the basement office, and Nick Pope was co-hosting or joining him as a guest on that show. And I was a fan of that show at the time when it appeared that Stephen Greenstreet was really trying to get to the bottom of the UFO/UAP mystery. And he was honestly investigating it. He was a little skeptical. He was very nuts and bolts oriented, but at least he was honestly interested in it. But I think at a certain point, he realized it was real and his mind broke. He just couldn't handle it. Call it cognitive dissonance, I suppose is the word. He just couldn't deal. And so he sided with Mick West in that camp, and it just all had to be fake. So, so that's my take on Stephen Greenstreet. And of course, there are other motives. I suspect Mick West is something like that, although I don't think he ever really allowed himself to investigate it as much as Stephen Greenstreet did, although I could be wrong. But it appears he just, instantly put up those bloggers. But anyway, so those are some of the motives for the debunkers and the people downplaying this stuff. But it is very important to keep John Ratcliffe's words in mind, that we have multiple sensor data on these incidents, and that there were not hypersonic Chinese and Russian craft in 2004. There certainly were not hypersonic Russian and Chinese craft in 1947. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. That'd be super awesome. Hit the bell to be to subscribe and to be notified of future videos. And comment below. Let me know what you think about all this. Also, please leave a tip in the tip jar with the super thanks feature below, and join the channel on one of the two tiers, tier 1 or tier 2. Either one is very much appreciated. And please follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Links are below. Interact with me there, and it would be super helpful if you would share these videos when they drop on social media. Until next time, this is Jack from Cosmic Road, out.